Good morning, students. So, after looking at air and water pollution, we also looked at marine pollution and soil pollution. Yeah, so we looked at the control measures, the causes, the different types of pollutants of water and air, right? So, we looked at primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. Then we also looked at in water pollution, we looked at the different organic, inorganic pollutants, right, which cause eutrophication. And then we'll also looked at two important phenomenon of biomagnification and bioaccumulation. So today we are going to be starting with noise pollution and thermal pollution. Now noise pollution, right, so any unwanted sound is called as noise, right? So that is the difference between sound and noise. So an unpleasant irritating sound is nothing but noise, right? Now noise, it may not look like, it may not seem as harmful as harmful as the soil or water pollution, clear, but it is also equally an important type of pollution, clear, because it directly affects your mental and physical health, right? That is why we are looking at noise pollution, and there is a lot of new technology going on with this to control noise pollution, clear. So let's look at it quickly. Now pollution which is distracting, irritating and damaging, right, they are always freely audible, clear, but that is nothing but pollution. That is noise pollution, clear. Now that is measured in decibels, that is dB, clear. Now yes, so WHO, it also has stated that it must be recognized as a major threat to human well-being, clear. So not only clean air, clean water, but we also need a sense of peace around us, right? We need a sense of silence, or we need some pleasant noises around us. Is that clear? Pleasant sounds around us, clear. So that is why noise has also been recognized as a major threat to the human beings. Now there are three types of noises. What are they? One is continuous noise. Obviously the name is, from the name it is clear what it is. As opposed to that, there is variable noise, and then there is impact noise, right? So impact noise is, it can be the most loud, but it is for the shortest time, clear. Now when I said that noise is measured in decibels, let's just look at the everyday noises, right? So on an average, what is their range? So the first one, what does it say? So the rustle of leaves, clear. So these are some common sounds. So the rustle of leaves is only around 10 decibels, clear. Then any library or any quiet place is around 40 to 50 decibels. Okay. Then you have your subway train or your trains, they make noise around 90 decibels. Okay. Then we have an aircraft takeoff which makes around 120 decibels, clear. So and the threshold of pain is 146 decibels, is that clear? So this can give you a range of what are the acceptable and unacceptable noise standards. Now these are again the further limits. They have been uh, this is the official standard. It has been decided by the Central Pollution Control Board of India, clear. Now what is that? In the industrial zone, during daytime it should be only 75, at night it is 70, clear. But for residential zones, remember, it should be 55, and at the night time it should be 45, clear. So this is the limit which has been given. And what is the permitted noise level? The maximum that you can make under law is 125 decibels, clear. So after that it is illegal. So that is under your Environment Protection Act of the amendment rules of 1999, is that clear? So this is some common standard, but remember that in your schools and hospital areas it should be only 50. In residential zones it can be around 55 during the daytime, 55 decibels, clear. And the permitted maximum noise level is 125 decibels. Now what are the different sources of noise pollution, clear. So uh, why are we looking at this, clear? Because the sources of noise pollution, right, they can be both indoor and outdoor, is that clear? Now, or they can be both natural and man-made. Now natural sources, what makes noise? A lot of thunderstorms, earthquakes, then loud sea waves, and also waterfalls, clear. So they can be pleasing or unpleasant, right? So They can be your natural sources. Now in your man-made sources, we have a lot of other things. So one is you have indoor sources, the household sources, and one is your industrialized sources. Clear? Now the noise which emanates from factories, right, or vehicles, or playing of loudspeakers during your different festivals, clear? So that causes outdoor noise pollution. Is that clear? Whereas if you play a radio or if you play a music system very loudly, then that contributes to an indoor noise pollution. Is that clear? So that um, is again a very, this is a very basic and simple slide. But if we have to classify the source, this is how we can classify it: as indoor or outdoor, or as natural and man-made. Okay, so very simple slide. I'll jump to the next one. Now what are the effects of noise pollution? Clear? So on humans, on animals, and on the environment. On humans there are two types: one is auditory and non-auditory effect. Clear? So what happens during humans? So they have given us a chart. So again, this is the official chart. um, Around 95, 80 to 95, what happens if you hear that noise level? Then you are annoyed. Clear? But if you hear more than 100, then that can cause damage to hearing. Is that clear? And if it is more than that, if it is 180, then it can cause the rupture of your ears. Is that clear? And the last one, it can cause also lung damage. Clear? So you can see that it's very serious. The safe level is again 50 to 55. Is that clear? So this is the roughly range that they have got over different years of research. Okay. Now, okay, before looking at the control measures, so on humans only, what happens? The most direct effect, right, is the physical damage of the ear. Is that clear? Or it can cause permanent loss of hearing, permanent damage to hearing. Clear? So that is the physical effect. And what is the mental effect on the human? Is that obviously noise causes a lot of emotional changes, right? For example, it can cause anxiety, it can cause irritability, and it can also give you stress. And most importantly, if there is a lot of noise, then you cannot concentrate, obviously, right? And you, there will be mental fatigue. Okay, so this also, so this is a significant health effect, right? Because we need to be emotionally and mentally strong. Now because it is generally been observed, right, that the performance of school children, it is poor when the school is situated in the city or in the busy areas of the city. Okay, that is why schools have a large playground, or they have a wide open area, right, so that the noise reduces. Is that clear? So so a lot of these scientists, they have done a lot of research, right, which says that these school children, if they are, if they don't suffer from noise pollution in the school, then they can focus better. Is that clear? Now it can also, in the industries, it can cause accidents, right? The worker productivity, the worker efficiency, all of that is reduced. Clear? So it becomes a nuisance. That is why they have set standards as to what should be the maximum limit of the pollution. Clear? So we have already seen that in the previous slides. Clear? So in the previous slides of silent zone, residential zone, commercial and industrial zone. Clear? That is why a standard safe limit, it has been set for exposure to various noise levels. Now beyond this safe level, it, over a period of year, it can lead to causes of it can lead to hearing loss. Is that clear? Now we saw the causes and the effects. Now let's look at the control measures. Now the control measures, it is there is a approach to controlling, right? So what is the approach? So there are four fundamental approaches in which you can control noise. So the first one is at the source. Obviously, whatever is the source of the noise, that should be reduced. Then what can you do? You can also block the path of the noise, or you can increase the path length, right? That can also reduce the noise pollution. And last is obviously at the object or at the recipient. Clear? So these are the four different approaches. Yes, these are the four different approaches, but the best approach is the reduction at the source. Clear? So the best approach that you can do is at the source. Now what do they do in the industries? How do they reduce source noise pollution reduction? Is that what do they do? They use muffling vehicles and machinery. So they, what they do is they create a sealed enclosure around that machinery, which is lined with some acoustic absorbing material, right? So that the noise gets absorbed by the machine, and therefore it creates less noise in the industry, and therefore allows the worker to work efficiently. Clear? So sometimes they can use absorbent mounts, or they can use some absorbent pads, right? Some or they can also use flexible couplings for the interior pipelines that they have, right? So all of this, it helps in reduction of the noise pollution. Clear? Now what else do they also do? Soil reduction can also be done, sorry, noise pollution reduction, it can also be done by regular and thorough maintenance of operating machinery. Clear? Now you know that if the machine is not maintained, or even if your vehicles, right, they are not maintained properly, then obviously they're going to cause a lot of noise. Is that clear? So that is why all of this noise, it can be prevented. Now even your vehicular noise, right, it comes from the movement of the vehicle tires on the road, right, and also from the wind resistance. Okay, so poorly maintained vehicles will obviously add to the noise pollution. Okay, that is why we have to ensure that the vehicles that we use on the roads, they are also very well maintained. Okay, and not only the vehicles but the roads also. Now there should be proper highway design and the proper planning of the roads in order to control the traffic. Clear? So we cannot have bottlenecks, right? We cannot have, like for example in Pune, you know that the university circle, right, or Chandni Chowk, right, all of these, they are bottlenecks because they are sort of junctions, right? So that is why they have to be designed in such a way that they do not accumulate a lot of vehicles at one time. And in the last, yes, in the last slide we also looked at this. So what can we do? Some innovative solution here you can see is they have used a aesthetic noise barrier, which means they have made this structure in Australia which helps in reducing noise. Or other than that, what can you also do is, the most effective way is obviously a plantation of trees, right? So we can plant a lot of trees around our own houses, because you know that they absorb the soil noise wavelength. Yeah, so they act as effective noise barriers. Even around industries, you should plant a lot of trees because they are highly absorptive of the sound. Is that clear? And not only that, what can we also do on a personal level? We can turn off appliances when we are not using them. We can use earplugs, earmuffs, okay, and we can stay away from the noisy area. Okay, now there so these earplugs and earmuffs, what is being observed is that these earmuffs, they can reduce the sound level by as much as 40 decibels. Is that clear? So you can see that it is very effective, and therefore workers in the industry, they tend to not use it on a regular basis, in spite of the companies making them do so. But the workers should also take their own security at their own security seriously, right? And therefore there, all these methods, all these guidelines must be followed. Is that clear? Now the so the take home message from this is again of the importance of afforestation, right? So you know that plants, they absorb the sound wavelengths, and therefore they help in creating a very peaceful atmosphere, and they give shade. Okay, so that is how you can help in uh, managing your own micro universe. Okay, like for example, wherever you're studying, that should be a quiet area so that you can focus more. Is that clear? Then also, it has been said that it has been observed that your uh, earphones time, right? So remind yourself about how much time you use, these earphones, um, AirPods or whatever, because that also causes a lot of disturbance to your eardrums. Is that clear? Because what has been observed is that um, over a period of 1 year, whichever sound is less than 90 decibels, right, only 8 hours has been permitted. Clear? So in the whole year, this is a statistic given, is that if you are listening to sound which is up to 90 decibels, right, then the whole year you should only listen to that for 8 hours only. Otherwise it causes a hearing loss. Clear? So remind yourself about the time that you use your ear pods or whatever it is. Clear? So try to reduce it as much as possible. Now let's look at the next topic, that is of thermal pollution. Clear? Now what is thermal pollution? Thermal means heat, right? So that means heat pollution. So that is, what is that? Nothing but degradation of the water quality by any process that changes the ambient water temperature. Is that clear? So discharge of warm water into a river or a pond or a lake is what? Thermal pollution. Yeah, so that is nothing but addition of excessive heat into the water body is polluting the water body. Is that clear? Now what are the effects of this? What are the effects of thermal pollution? Is that they sorry what are, let's look at the causes first. What are the causes? Nuclear power plants, hydroelectric power plants, coal fired power plants, industrial effluents, deforestation, burning of fossil fuels. All of this, what it does, it releases, it changes the temperature of the water, yeah, and therefore it causes thermal pollution. Now because the first four, they discharge a lot of hot water into the atmosphere, into the pond or the river, right? That is why that pollutes the river. You can see here, so this is the steam, right, and it is eventually being led into the river water, which is going to change the temperature. Okay, now why is that bad? So why is thermal pollution bad? Is because of its effect on the solubility of oxygen. Clear? Now you can see in this diagram that the oxygen solubility in water, it decreases. You can see in this graph is that it decreases as the temperature is increasing. Is that clear? So if temperature is increasing of the water, then the oxygen solubility or the oxygen dissolving rate inside the water, it is going to decrease. And obviously if dissolved oxygen is going to reduce, then that is going to obviously harm the aquatic life. Is that clear? Now how does it do that? Is because now the ecological balance of the river is going to be changed. Is that clear? uh, it has been generally observed that your thermal marine animals, right, so they are unable to tolerate a temperature increase of even 2 to 3 degrees. Okay, but then there are also some mollusks, some crustaceans, some phytoplanktons, right, they get eliminated totally at temperatures above 37 degrees Celsius. Is that clear? So what happens is that the diversity of fauna, it changes in such a way that only those species which are able to live in warmer waters, they survive, whereas those which are unable to change themselves, which are unable to tolerate this increase in the temperature, they die. Is that clear? And therefore what happens, that becomes sort of like a monoculture, right? So we there is loss of biodiversity and only one type of fishes, they survive. Is that clear? So that is the main main ill effect of this thermal pollution. Okay, because we need a lot of diversity, we need a lot of marine animals, we need sponges, we need mollusks, we need crustaceans, different phytoplanktons. Clear? So only one variety is not going to do us good. Okay, because we saw in our lecture in ecosystem diversity that we saw in food chain. Clear? So if the primary producer itself is going to be of one type, then the top consumer is also going to be of one type. We are going to lose diversity. Is that clear? That is why it is very essential. Now what are the control measures? Okay, now what do these industries do that can help in reducing this thermal pollution? Now the first one is the cooling ponds. Okay, now what do these cooling ponds do? they these cooling ponds are like your artificial lakes only. Is that it is a vast area of an artificial lake, and then the hot water which is released from the industry, it is collected in that pond. Then over time, what happens, the heat escapes into the atmosphere, into the air, and the water gets cooled, and then that cooled water is again discharged into the river from the cooling ponds. Is that clear? So that is how the cooling pond works. Now the artificial lakes as reservoirs are also the same thing, but here the water is stored for a longer time. Is that clear? Now another very popular technique is the use of cooling towers. So what are these towers? Is that it is basically a vertical structure, right? And what happens in these structures, so the advantage is that these structures, they don't take a lot of horizontal area. Okay, so they take very less area because it is a vertical structure. And in this vertical structure, what happens, the water which comes from the condensers of the plants, of these industrial plants, it is sprayed. Okay, it is sprayed downward vertically over some vertical sheets. Clear? So the water, it flows in these sheets vertically, and then the cool air, it enters the tower through a water inlet. Okay, and it circles the tower, and whatever cool air is there, it rises upward. Okay, that is called as evaporative cooling. So whatever cool air is that is, it helps in reducing the temperature of this hot water. Okay, what happens, because there is a density difference between the cool air and the warm air inside the tower, the waste heat, it gets dissipated into the atmosphere, or it gets absorbed by the atmosphere. Okay, and therefore whatever water is cooled, that is again collected from the tower, and it is again put into the water source, into the water pond or a river. Yeah, so that is how uh, we use these different condensers, or we use these different vertical or horizontal means. Okay, but the only disadvantage is that a large amount of water, it is lost by evaporation. Yeah, so because obviously you're allowing the water to evaporate, there is loss of water. Okay, other than that, it helps to change the temperature of the water. Is that clear? Now yes, so you can read about this method, and you can google it, find some images about it as your homework for cooling towers. Okay, how do they work? Yeah, I have explained it. If you have any doubt, we can discuss it. Is that clear? Now the next topic is nuclear pollution. So nuclear pollution, we will actually be discussing in great details in our next unit, but here we will look at it in a brief way. So, nuclear pollution, what is it? Nothing but an undesirable effect caused on the environment or the human due to some radiation. Is that clear? So, nuclear fission, it produces a lot of energy. Okay. So, there is nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Is that clear? So, that is why this topic has been given in your presentation. Is that because we want to look at nuclear energy as a resource, and we have also want to look at nuclear energy as a pollutant. Okay. Now what does this statistic tell you? That 17% of the electrical energy which is generated in the world, it comes from nuclear power plants, right? So nuclear energy, it can be both beneficial and harmful, and it depends on how you use it. Okay, now one example that we saw is that it is very useful in producing energy, right? So around 17 to 17% of the world is using it for producing energy. Other than that, you can also use it for medical purposes, right? So a lot of your x-rays or radiations, they use a lot of radioactive compounds. Then another very important thing to think about is what are the sources of these nuclear pollution. So there can be because of mining. So if it is some radioactive ore, then there can be leakage of radiation. Then if you are producing nuclear fuel, now if importantly there are nuclear power plant accidents, like for example the 3 Mile Island of USA, or the or Chernobyl if of Russia, these are examples of some accidents. These accidents happened, and then there is a leakage of fuel. Is that clear? Then during transportation or during nuclear tests and experiments, And during transportation and disposal of nuclear waste, there can be leakages, there can be a lot of toxic material which enters into the atmosphere, right, causing pollution. So all this is the sources of nuclear pollution, and all of these have to be controlled. Is that clear? Like for example, you know that these aluminum ore, right? So if it is a low grade low grade uranium ore, it contains only 0.2% of uranium, okay, which is obtained by underground or surface mining. Now what happens, this naturally containing uranium, right, whatever it is, it contains only 0.7% of uranium 235. So you know that there is 237 and 235, but 235 is used in the nuclear power plants. Now this natural ore that you extract of uranium, that only contains 0.7% of usable uranium. Okay, so what happens when you get that ore? It is first what you have to do is you have to increase the amount of uranium 235, right? And that is the process called as enrichment. Okay, now enrichment is again a very difficult, and it is also a very expensive process. So but it is useful. Why? Because if you enrich that natural ore, then that increases the content of uranium from 0.7 to 3%. Okay, so that you know now it is highly enriched. But again, during all this procedure, there can be leakage or there can be nuclear pollution. Okay, so therefore it has to be controlled using a lot of these fuel rods. So they are your fuel rods. They can be made of different compounds which are useful, right? So these rods, they help in uh, limiting radiation in that particular level. Is that clear? So therefore these nuclear power plants, they have different methods, or they have different protocols of covering that. Okay, now why is nuclear pollution bad? So you know about it already, is because it is a lot of there is a lot of genetic damage which is caused to the environment. There is a lot of genetic damage to humans. So there is DNA alteration, there can be damage, or there can be chromosomal damage, or even there is a somatic means your physical damage, right? So it can cause burns, cancers, then a lot of retinas in the eyes have been damaged, right? So this has all been observed in Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, and it shortens your lifespan, clear, and it transfers from one generation to the other. Okay, so that is very very detrimental. Okay, so that is the uh, most ill effects of nuclear pollution. Now how has this to be controlled? So you also look it up for your homework, because it's an interesting topic about how nuclear waste is treated. Okay, I think we have discussed this: proper maintenance of nuclear plants, preventive and control measures. There should be safe transportation. Then there should be ban on nuclear weapons. Okay, so you look up comprehensive test ban treaty. Okay, so you google this, look it up for your homework. It's very interesting because there's a lot of arms race that goes on in the world. Okay, every country wants nuclear weapons, but obviously it has to be regulated. Okay, so you look up these treaties. Then you also look at NSG. NSG is nuclear suppliers group, right? So this is a group of countries which has uranium ores, which have a lot of radioactive ores with them, and they supply it to the whole world. Okay, but that is also very regulated. It's not like anyone who wants it will get it. Okay, so there is a heavy regulation on it. Okay, so and also lastly you look up International Atomic Energy Agency. Okay, so these are very important institutes and organizations. Very interesting also about how nuclear energy all over the world it is regulated. Okay, and next class we will be looking at solid waste management. Okay, and we will start with the new unit of new and last unit of climate change and global warming. Is that clear? So so a lot of two three 2 3 institutes I have told you to look up. So please do that as your homework. It is very interesting, and if you have any doubts about this, do tell me. You can email me. And remember that students, almost all students, they make mistake in thermal pollution. Okay, remember that it is not your coal pollution. Okay, it is not pollution caused by mining, but it is pollution caused by heat. Okay, remember that. uh, because students tend to make a mistake in that. Okay, so we will stop here, and for the next class we will start with the new topic of soil solid waste management.